Well, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 1993. So many people say to me, but don't you get bloated? Don't you have problems because you're eating all those beans and all that fibre? And I'm like, no, it's the opposite. I used to get bloated. I used to have a bad stomach, and now I don't. And I remember seeing the first consultant in London, who was the top gastroenterologist in London at the time, and he said the same thing to me. And my husband was with me, and he said, well, tell me if you think I'm stupid, but surely diet has something to do with this. And he just turned around and he says, you're stupid. It's hard because every time I got a flare up, I would feel very down about it, and I think, oh no, here we go again. It's just not worth it. If you think that you can get over it on your own, really, without changing your lifestyle and diet, it won't work. I've tried everything over those years. As years went on, I felt like my body was getting tired of fighting 3 or 4 years ago, and I just my body's fed up with fighting this. It can't control it anymore like it used to. I felt it was more about not just you healing me, but you teaching me to heal myself.
That's right.
And that came across very much, that it was genuine, that someone wanted to help you get over your illness. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. I just can't believe it, really. It's such a thrill to add something new to your diet and to see that you're fighting it and it works and you have no trouble. You can heal this.
And this is my favorite part. You now have a life after colitis, and you know,
I have.
Yeah, you do. Give this video a thumbs up if you know what it's like to live with IBD, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. This channel is designed to help people recover from colitis, Crohn's, and any other form of IBD. You can always head to our website, highcarbhealth.com, for a free 30-minute consultation from anywhere in the world. And remember, there is a life after colitis. Hello everyone, welcome to another video. It's testimonial time, and I'm joined here by Natasha, who has healed ulcerative colitis. And Natasha has a very interesting story because she's had colitis for a long time. Welcome to the channel.
Thank you. Nice I can be here.
So, you know, just quickly, how long have you been dealing with IBD?
Well, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis in 1993.
Woohoo!
Yeah. So a long time now.
So, I mean, gosh, you've been dealing with this for more than 20 years. And, you know, I think it'd be really interesting to hear your story and, you know, how things have changed over time and, you know, how you got diagnosed. So just give us a brief run through of your story and, you know, what it was like getting diagnosed and the different things that you've done over the years.
Yeah, well, I started at first with having runny stools, and I didn't really think much about it, and I wouldn't say it was particularly bad, but it wasn't until we went out to an exhibition and I had a takeaway curry. And after that, I was really, really sick, and the doctors basically said I had food poisoning.
Right.
So because of that, they started giving me antibiotics and different medicines to help me, and they didn't. It just progressively got worse, and in the end, they decided to have a look and do a colonoscopy. But that most probably took a few months before all that happened. And then they said to me, we think you've got ulcerative colitis. So they knew back then what it was, but didn't really know what to do about it. And I didn't have a clue what it was. And there was no information. No one was telling you what it was, like what to expect, why you've got it. They just basically said, you've got this problem in your bowel. We will just give you anti-inflammatory medicines. So that's what started. I started with anti-inflammatory medicines, and everyone I took made me sick. I tried all the basic anti-inflammatories they had back then, Acecol and different ones, and nothing worked. And I just remember getting sicker. And at this point, we'd moved as well. We'd moved up the country, and so it was quite stressful. We were trying to change our life, do something different, and at the same time I was now with this illness. So yeah, they just tried all these medicines, and in the end, I just didn't like them. I just felt they weren't helping me,
Mm.
and I kept thinking, and they kept saying this is something that is, we don't really know, but it's like possibly something to do with your immune system. There's nothing we can do about it. And I thought to myself, well, this is crazy. Surely there's something that they can be done, or is it to do with diet, or was it something I did eat? And
Mm.
I remember seeing the first consultant in London, who was the top gastroenterologist in London at the time, and he said the same thing to me. And my husband was with me, and he said, "Well, tell me if you think I'm stupid, but surely diet has something to do with this." And he just turned around and he says, "You're stupid." And that was a reaction we got from the top gastroenterologist in London.
Mm.
And so we walked away from there thinking, well, we've got to look at alternatives. And at that point, I started looking at my diet, and also I did a lot of acupuncture.
Mm.
And acupuncture really helped.
Mm.
And I feel got me in remission at that point
Mm-hmm.
for quite a period of time. Yeah.
Right. And just to give us a time frame, how long after you got diagnosed did you come to this realization and meet with that gastroenterologist that you felt, okay, well, maybe the allopathic or the medical model is not the right way for me?
Oh, very quickly, within
Okay.
months.
Within
Yeah,
months.
within months.
Okay.
Within months, yeah, yeah. Because I just felt none of the medicines were helping, and I
Mm.
thought there's no point me carrying on these medicines. They were making me worse.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a lot more diarrhea.
So yeah, I mean, it's a very common experience that people have, isn't it? They go to the doctor and the doctor tells them, "Oh, your diet doesn't have anything to do with the digestive health issue that you've got." And I guess, since '93, not much has changed. I mean, they're still telling our clients the same thing, whether you get diagnosed last year or, more than 20 years ago, we're still getting the same messages, even though the amount of evidence around diet and IBD has I guess improved so much. It's still taking a long time for that to get into the mainstream kind of medical circle. So okay, so you decided you were going to try different approaches, so, and I'm sure you've tried a lot over the years. So let's kind of
Yeah,
talk through
try-
some of them and what
I-
kind of went well for you, what didn't go well for you. We can kind of discuss that.
yeah. Well, I was already a vegetarian,
Mm-hmm.
so I wasn't eating any meat, but of course I was eating all the dairy products and fish.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the acupuncture helped a lot. I went to see dietitians, I went to herbalists, I went to homeopaths.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I tried all of them, and to a degree, they helped. They helped to keep it slightly under control, but not fully.
Mm-hmm.
But I just kept up with this for years, just trying all these different methods, and sometimes I would be good, and sometimes I would be bad. Sometimes I'd feel like I was in remission, then it
Mm-hmm.
would come up again. But I couldn't really find a pattern of to why it was going up and down. And of course, the doctors tell you, well, you go in remission and you come out of remission. So I just assumed, well, sometimes I was better, sometimes I wasn't,
Mm.
and it went on like that for a decade, I would say.
Mm.
Um, we moved to Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
and funnily enough, while I was in Kenya, we were on a although I was eating by this point, I was back eating meat because the doctors had told me to. That's right,
Mm.
because I'm very anemic at one point.
Mm-hmm.
So they told me I had to become a meat eater again. So reluctantly, because I didn't like meat, reluctantly I did,
Mm.
because I thought, well, maybe it's going to be better for my health.
Right.
So I did that. But when we were in Kenya, our
Mm.
diet was very much a fresh diet of fresh fruit and vegetables, homegrown foods.
Mm.
I still had a bit of meat, and I still ate fish, obviously, and the dairy products. But my diet was slightly different there, and I never had a problem in 3 years. I was very
Mm.
well there.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't really connect at that point that it was really diet versus,
Yeah.
being a vegan, the
Yeah.
vegan
Yeah.
diet.
Yeah, interesting you point that out because, this is quite a common thing for vegetarians to be anemic and have iron deficiencies because eating dairy products inhibits your absorption of iron. So a lot of people don't understand that. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I went vegetarian and I was anemic, and they think, oh, going plant-based or vegan is going to make them more anemic. In fact, the opposite's true. When people go from vegetarian to vegan or plant-based, their iron levels improve. So that's
Yeah,
something that isn't commonly known. So I thought I'd
yeah,
just, for people that are watching, it's quite a common thing for vegetarians, but not so much for vegans or people on especially for people on whole food plant-based diets. Um,
yeah.
and yeah,
That's true.
yeah. Sorry.
Because I'm now vegan and I've got no problem.
Mm.
My
Yeah,
blood count's very high. Yeah, it's no
yeah,
problem now.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
um, I guess, and that's quite an interesting observation you can look back and make now that you were eating a predominantly plant-based diet with small amounts of animal products and you really felt a lot better. And so then obviously you left Kenya at some point, and what happened after that?
Yeah, we were back in the UK and it started to flare up again.
Mm,
We had been through quite a lot of stress with different things. So
mm,
I thought it was mainly based on stress, but of course my diet was back to being a Western diet
yeah,
and more processed foods. And it just kept flaring up and going down, flaring up, going down. And I was still avoiding the medicines. I was trying very
mm,
hard to avoid the medicine.
mm,
Um, Not long after that, I was diagnosed with endometriosis,
right.
which is like an autoimmune
Mm-hmm,
thing, they told me. And
mm-hmm,
unfortunately, I ended up having a hysterectomy about two or
mm,
3 years after that. So we're now up to like 2007, 2008.
mm,
Um, I was starting to get sick, and I think it was about 2012 I ended up having a hysterectomy. But at that
right.
point, it was just hard work.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, hard work with my health. But I still was keeping watch on some things I ate, and I was
mm,
still trying um, acupuncture, and so I just kept trying to balance things over the years, trying different things to try and
yeah.
keep under control. Yeah, and I just got used to living like that. As hard as it was, I'd wake up every day, feel sick,
Mm,
couldn't eat, go into the toilet 2 or 3 times,
mm,
couldn't get out the front door. I had to try and get up early so I could get out the front door at a reasonable time,
mm-hmm,
like I should do. Um, Making sure I was always near toilets. It just became a lifestyle,
yeah.
unfortunately, but it was a lifestyle. I had to deal with that because I didn't know what else to do.
I think that's a really interesting thing because, a lot of people, there's not many people who've had to deal with it for as long as you have. And we always talk about the fact that, try and deal with it as fast as you can, because if you don't, you're going to be what we call, like if you take the short-term pain now, you can have long-term gain later on. But if you take some short-term gains to get some relief now, you're going to be in this cycle of on and off for the rest of your life until you do something about it. So just talk about how that feels, and maybe, provide some advice to people who are watching this. Maybe they haven't had it for that long and thinking, okay, well, it's kind of under control now. I'm in remission right now on either on the medications or not on the medications, but they haven't made you know, the important changes to the plant-based diet or things like that. What would you say to these people who are watching?
Uh, don't don't wait.
Yeah.
If I knew what I know now, then I would have done this years ago. I would
Mm,
have done this years ago. It's hard because every time I got a flare up,
mm,
I would feel very down about it, and I think, oh no, here we go again. And we were trying to live our lives, and we then planned, and we've moved now to Bulgaria
mm-hmm,
with our work. And every time we tried to do something, it was like there was this block. Something would stop me in a way. I would get so far and then it would knock me down. And I was
mm,
fighting. I felt like my whole life I was fighting this illness to try and just achieve what I wanted to achieve.
right.
And it's just not worth it. If you
Mm,
think that you can get over on your own, really, without changing your lifestyle and diet, it won't work. I've tried
mm,
everything over those years,
mm,
and you really need to look at how your diet can make such a massive difference in your life.
mm,
Yeah, and it was just battle. It was a battle every day, and it's not nice. It's not nice to do that. And for the doctors, I then went on to have other medications. As years went on, I felt like my body was getting tired of fighting,
Mm.
and I sort of gave in a bit. It came to about 3 or 4 years ago, and I just my body's fed up with fighting this. It can't control it anymore like it used to.
Mm.
And it's awful to let your body get to that point, because it was affecting me. I was anemic.
Yeah.
I just lethargic. I was trying to keep positive, and I'd be positive when I was feeling better, and then it would go again. I'd be like, oh no, here we go again. I've got to go. Here we go again. I've gone into another. This happened in this year in January, exactly the same thing, and I went, oh no.
Yeah.
So I did end up going on steroids. I did end up going on anti-inflammatories for several years, because I didn't know what else to do. I felt like I just couldn't. My body had had enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not worth it. It's much better to sort it out and do this diet now. Don't leave it, because it won't get better on its own. It will get worse.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's the experience, and then you managed to stay without those medications for such a long period of time, which is a real credit to you and your determination, I suppose. But eventually you had to start taking them, because it's unless you actually understand the root cause of the problem, which is the toxicity, how to get rid of the toxicity in the body, how to get yourself working and get the organs working properly, get all of the workings of the body. It starts with what you eat, but there's other lifestyle factors as well that play a
That's
role. Unless you're understanding how to get all that and take a real holistic approach to your health, you're not going to get to where you want to get to in the long term. And I really stress that it's important to think about the long term, because we're not talking about quick fixes here. We're talking about really dealing with the root cause of the problem and making sure you're able to really heal yourself, really deep tissue healing, really getting into the core of the problem and removing the toxins that have been building up for years and years and years.
right.
So then at some point, I'm assuming you started to look for other options, and what did you find?
Yeah, well, so back in December, the end of December last year, a flare up started again, and I was on the medicines. And I thought, oh no, I just knew it. I thought, here we go again. I thought, why aren't the medicines working? As at that point, I was just on Salofalk, anti-inflammatory medicine.
Yeah.
So I went to a gastroenterologist here in Bulgaria in January and had a colonoscopy, and she said, yes, you're back up in a flare. So we want you to go on, was it the Humira, I think it was, or some other, medicines now.
Yeah.
And I was like, I came away and I was like, oh no, I don't want to do that, because they tried to put me on them a few years earlier and I'd refused. And now I don't know what else to do. I don't know. Anti-inflammatories have stopped working. I don't know what to do. So I then decided to go to England for another colonoscopy. Well, to go and see a consultant who then gave me another colonoscopy. So within 4 months, I had 2 colonoscopies, and he came to the same conclusion, wanted me to go on the same drugs, so the immune therapy. And I came out of there and I thought, I can't do this. I cannot do this. I cannot go on these medicines. They're going to destroy me. And we didn't want to go back to England and just be on the sick benefit. I thought, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, here we go again. So it was then I was speaking to a friend, and she said, have you ever watched Forks Over Knives?
Right.
And I said, no, what's that about? She says, watch it. I think you'll find it interesting. It's about diet. Well, anyway, I didn't watch it for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then I got worse. And I thought, I've got to speak to her again. And she said, no, watch it. So I did. And watching that, I thought, how interesting. So many people are curing their illnesses through a plant-based diet. So I just punched into Google, Forks Over Knives, ulcerative colitis. And you came up, your website came up. And I went on it and I started looking, I started watching the testimonies, and I thought, well, how interesting. I wonder whether this would really work for me. And and that's when I thought I'll contact you. And some were saying, well, what are you doing? Are you sure? And I said, well, what have I got to lose? They said,
Yeah.
they're going to take all your money, a scam. And I said, well, I don't care at this point. I'm just going to, I said, I've got nothing to lose but a few, as we say, a few pounds, a bit of money. I said, that's nothing to lose in comparison to all the years I've lost with this illness. And that's when I contacted you. And I thought straight away, I'm going to do this, even before I'd spoken to you.
Yeah.
I thought, I've got to try it.
Yeah. So
It's
yeah,
an option.
before we
Before
we discuss that first conversation, there's something interesting that you felt during your latest colonoscopy that we'll discuss how that affected you while you were healing. Just explain to everyone what happened in that colonoscopy, and we'll kind of tie back to that
Okay.
as we go later on.
Yeah. Well, in England, when they do colonoscopies, generally they don't give you a general anaesthetic. You're awake, so they just give you like a partial one. And so when the in the hospital they put up the tube, the camera, I felt a sharp pain, and I sort of flinched, and I thought, oh God, that was painful. What's she done? And then afterwards I bled, but it's quite normal because they take biopsies, and if you're inflamed anyway, and you've got, I was having mucus inflamed, so I didn't pay too much attention to it, but I did feel that when she did that one, and that was, like I said, the second one in 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. So just watch that space, because we'll discuss how that may have affected Natasha a bit later on in her journey. All right. So you got in contact with us and you had that conversation with Shamiz. The free consult. Anyone can have a free consult with us. So there's no obligations. We're not going to take any of your money. If you want to just have a chat about what we do, it's always going to be with Shamiz. And so if you want to discuss anything, his experiences, what he went through, take up that free consult. But explain kind of some of the things that you guys chatted about in that first consultation that you had.
Yeah, well, I sat with my husband, and we both said, right, we've both got to be on board with this from the start and really understand what this is about. And I just explained to Shamiz my story, and he didn't pressure us at all. He was very nice and very kind, and explained about himself, that he had managed to heal. I don't remember a huge amount about the consultation, because I was just like, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. Just tell me what I'm supposed to do. I said, I know this will work. So he didn't have to say a lot to me, really, because I was determined to do it. But I was able to explain to him, and he said, well, it's your choice, obviously. He didn't want to push you, which I was very impressed with, because a lot of people, whatever they're trying to sell, you could say, they're trying to push you into something. Of course, with you both, you don't do that. I know it's your business, but it's not, in a way. It's also your lifestyle, and you genuinely want to help people. And that came across very much, that it was genuine, that someone wanted to help you get over your illness. And I think that's what did it for us as well. My husband said, he said, these are genuine people here. He says they're not doing anything they should be. So that impressed us a lot. So I was just raring to go. I was like, tell me about it. What have I got to do? I'll just do it.
All right. So then obviously you joined the program, and talk about some of the things that you get when you join, because it's not just, we kind of try to explain to people, this is not just a prescriptive thing. We're trying to educate. So our whole idea is trying to teach people not only what you need to do, but why you're doing that. So, the first guidelines email that you get talk about the kind of initial information pack.
Yeah, there was a lot of information there, and a lot of maybe books to read. The Climb book, obviously, to read about how to heal your colitis, and different videos like the Forks Over Knives and the Game Changer and the different one. And I felt it was more about not just you healing me, but you teaching me to heal myself.
That's right.
And I think that's really, really important. Really, really important. You can't, just tell people what to do in something like this, because it is a lifestyle change. It's about what you need to do to change.
Yeah.
And in fact, what I do, I do a similar sort of thing with what I do, because I'm a Bible teacher. So
Mm-hmm.
if people want to live that lifestyle, you could say,
Yeah.
they have to do it. They have to research it and convince themselves whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
And so that principle ran with me, and I thought, right, that makes perfect sense to me, that I have to learn, I have to train myself. My lifestyle, you can't, it's
Yeah.
not just like a doctor giving a pill out,
No.
and here you go, you'll feel better. You have to learn how to live a different way with, your diet. So, and that's what this information helped you to see. It was about your exercise, as you said, the 5 things, and your sleep and your stress levels and your diet. Everything had to come into it. And so it was an education, and it took time to take it all in and understand it. But that pack, those things that you give at the beginning are very good, because it makes it very clear as well what's expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important that, we're quite keen to let everyone know that if you want to join, don't expect this to necessarily be an easy ride. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to have a lot of discipline and commitment. But as you can now experience, when you're going through it, you're like, oh my gosh, why do I have to do this? But look at that smile on your face. I mean, that just tells everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like the way you feel now, to have gone through what you've gone through to get to where you are now, it's so worth it.
Yeah, definitely. And there are times when you have to, you're always constantly teaching yourself, you could say. Like, there are days when you think, oh no, I just don't want to have that. I fancy something else to eat, or
Yeah.
I don't want to, have fruit all day. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I just want something else. But you have to keep yourself disciplined. There are moments when you just have other things, but in general, you're trying to say to yourself, this is the general whole experience, that's gonna keep
Yeah.
you well.
And it really does
Yeah.
teach you a lot about yourself. Your discipline, your ability to kind of get through tough moments, and a
Yeah.
lot of people tell me, I don't know if you feel the same way, but a lot of people tell me they feel like a different person after they come through the other side. They learn so much about who they are,
Yeah.
and the amount of
Yeah.
strength that you have, to get through that. So then explain. Okay, so let's talk about your journey through the program now. You've got through the initial information pack. You know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Let's kind of talk about your journey and what you experienced.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I started it in March,
Hmm.
and I gradually came off all the foods until I was on the healing diet. I think it was about mid-April I was on the healing diet, because I remember it was our anniversary, and I had a plate of plain vegetables. Cooked my husband a nice meal, and I sat and watched him eat it while I ate, because we were in lockdown, we couldn't do anything anyway. So I remember that. I would say the hardest thing is when you go into that healing diet, is being consistent, because you do get food cravings, you get bored of eating the same food. It lacks flavor at that point. But that is quite a challenge. And mentally it's a challenge, because there are days where you feel better, and then days when you don't feel good. When you feel better, you think, oh good, it's worth it, and it motivates you, and then you suddenly get a dip, and you have a few bad days where your stomach goes bad again. And then you feel a bit, oh no, how long is this going to go on for? That was my thought, and every day I was hopeful, that it's going to improve. So that was quite, mentally it's a challenge, that part of the diet, because you don't know how long you're going to be on it, because everybody's different. So every week when I spoke to you, and you'd say, no, let's just go another week, and every time you said that, it actually went on for 3 months, and I thought, oh, I'll be off this soon. But you were very careful and clever in telling me next week, and every time next week came, it was the next week. But I think that was the tough part. And then of course I did have like a dip where I healed, I felt, and then I started to feel much better, and then it went again. So it was like that second healing wave that some experience.
So for people who are watching, what Natasha's talking about is that the fact that your body heals in waves. It's not like a linear progress. It's not like you just progressively get better. You have moments where you feel like, wow, I'm feeling so much better, and then there are other moments where you're like, what happened all of a sudden? I was feeling better, now I'm not, and there's ups and downs, and you know fluctuations in how you feel, and sometimes you can feel
Yeah.
almost 100% and then have another healing wave that comes through that can really knock you off mentally. But I think credit to you, you stuck in there. Just talk to about some of the detoxification symptoms that you experienced as you went through, because people they always tell me, please get the clients to explain in detail what the detox symptoms were. So what kind of symptoms did you experience?
Yeah, yeah. Well, of course, the usual of your symptoms of your ulcerative colitis.
Mm,
So I had a lot of mucus, which had been going on anyway,
mm,
and blood
mm-hmm,
and diarrhea. I wouldn't say I had masses of bowel movements a day,
mm-hmm.
4 or 5 maximum, I think. I wasn't really, really bad because I've always had mild ulcerative colitis.
Yeah.
So that was the basics. But then um, I remember getting really big spots or boils on my body,
Mm-hmm,
back of my neck.
mm-hmm,
I had some on my legs. I had
mm-hmm,
one that I looked like a growth that I was worried about, and actually went to see a doctor because I thought
mm,
it was a skin or something. And she says, no, no, it will heal. And it did. It healed on its own.
mm,
Um, my hair fell out and is still slightly falling out. It's
mm-hmm,
slightly improved, but
mm-hmm,
yeah, I was losing a lot of hair.
mm-hmm,
My head would get very, very itchy
mm-hmm.
for some strange reason. I was
Yeah.
just terribly itchy hair. I think I also, at the start, had some very, very bad headaches.
Mm,
That I they sort of happened all together. So maybe over 2 or 3 days. I think it was giving up the coffee and the tea.
yeah.
Um, So I had really, really bad headaches. And funnily enough, I remember one of your clients mentioning that she'd had a leg injury
Mm-hmm.
that she got a lot of pain with. And
Yeah.
then afterwards it got better. Well, I tore my ligaments last year in my ankle,
Mm,
and it was pretty good. But then all of a sudden, at one point, I got terrible pain back in this ankle,
mm,
really bad pain. I thought,
mm.
how strange. Why am I getting that? It's not winter. It's not arthritis.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to you about it, and you said, "Oh, that's most probably, part of the healing process."
Yeah.
And sure enough, it came and it went. So I think they were the main things that I went through. I had a lot of sweat
Mm-hmm.
for a period of time,
Mm-hmm.
sweating a lot. Um, yeah, I think that was pretty much all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
many
And
things
so
were happening.
yeah, and so the things that Natasha's describing are the process in which the body heals. And most people think of these as negative things. They think of things that are bad that are happening to you, and they get scared. And if you don't have the guidance, it's so easy to get scared. You don't know what's going. You don't know how, whether that's normal, whether it's not normal. Um, whether you're on the right track or you're not on the right track. So you know if you don't, it's easy for people to give up. You know, when you start experiencing this detoxification situation, it's very easy not to see it through and think, oh, this is not working for me. And those kind
Yeah.
of symptoms, if you don't know what's happening, and that's why the education piece is so important. If you don't know what's happening, then you're going to be scared, and you're not going to
Mm.
continue. You know,
Yeah, and that's
so
where I found it so important, the testimonials. That's why I wanted to
mm,
do one. I was happy
mm,
to do one because when I watched some of them came out just at the right time for me, and it was
mm,
just when I was going through something that on the testimonial someone would say, "Well, I went through this," and
mm,
I'm like, "Oh, that's just like me. That's just what I'm going through." And I found it encouraging because then you realise you will get over this.
yeah,
It's just a matter of time. You just have
yeah.
to stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even what happened to your ankle, what tends to happen is if your body didn't have the right conditions while it was healing in the first place, it may not have fully been able to do the healing that it wanted to do. So as you start creating the right conditions to allow your body to heal properly, it goes back and starts healing old injuries and old kind of situations that maybe it started to heal but wasn't able to fully complete. And so, it basically sent blood flow back into that area, and you start getting the pain again because it's healing again. It's actually trying to finish the job that it had started. So that's the kind of thing that can happen with a lot of people as well, and that's very common that old injuries and things start to kind of come up again. Um,
yeah. So
and so you actually, so what happened was you went through all the detox and you got to a really, really reasonably good place. And we were like, okay, we start going to post healing now because you're feeling really good. And then you had a major curveball. Yeah, explain to everyone what happened.
oh, terrible. So this was July now. I was
Mm,
starting to get better, and you were just starting to talk about introducing things, and I think I'd started introducing some other fruits
yeah.
and other vegetables. And so I was really happy, and I said, "Oh, I'm finally on the road. This is starting to work."
Mm,
And then all of a sudden, I went to the toilet one day, and I had this horrendous pain like I've never experienced in my life. And I didn't realize right at that moment what it was, but in
mm,
fact, I had torn my rectum and had a massive fissure
mm,
inside that had
yeah.
basically torn open.
Yeah.
And oh, the pain, I've never experienced pain like it.
Mm,
And it put me to bed, and I couldn't even get out of bed.
yeah.
And I was frightened to take painkillers because I thought it was going to upset, because I was right at
Mm,
that delicate point where I
mm,
was just healing, and I was
mm,
terrified to take any painkillers.
mm,
But I couldn't even move out the house
yeah.
to go and see a
And
doctor.
this is the link back to what we talked about with the colonoscopy. We have a feeling that, that sharp pain caused a bit of, I guess, weakness in that part of your
Yeah,
rectum.
yeah.
And
I think it caused a small tear that
mm,
healed, and but through the whole healing process, I remember saying to you, I'm not sure. I've got a bit of blood, because you used to say, "Have you got any blood?" And I'm like, "I've got a bit of blood, but I'm not sure where it's coming from."
mm,
And I had my doubts that this blood was from my colitis. I sort of
mm,
just, because when you go to the bathroom,
yeah.
um, and I kept worrying about it. And you said, "Well, let's just be careful," and you kept me on the healing diets. But I
Mm,
wasn't sure where it was coming from. And then all of a sudden, I think from that original injury,
yeah.
I got this big tear.
Yeah.
Um, so that just, completely threw me.
Mm,
And I ended up having pain-killing injections, because I thought, well, it's better to have an injection that's
mm,
strong rather
mm,
than trying to orally take them and they go into my stomach. But it
yeah.
took a good week before I could even leave the house
Mm,
to get an injection to get enough pain relief to get out the house to see a doctor.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that continued for months trying to heal it with creams, because the doctors are reluctant to operate unless, they
Mm,
really feel it's necessary.
mm,
Um, so because of that, I had to reduce my diet back to
yeah.
soft foods,
Yeah.
stick on the healing diet. I even did a 3-day juicing that you recommended to give my
Mm,
bowel a rest,
mm,
stop going to the toilet.
yeah.
Um, and that did help.
Yeah.
Um, that did help a lot, but unfortunately, it just wouldn't heal up 100% on its own. It
Yeah.
healed a lot, but
It
not
did heal a lot
completely.
though, considering how big it was.
It
So
did
you
heal
were able to
a
get a lot
lot.
of healing done in that time.
Yeah,
And in the end, I
yeah,
think you ended up getting a small operation just recently, didn't you?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just a couple of weeks ago, I had to have an operation just to stitch up and to remove an outside part.
Mm,
They felt it was either a hemorrhoid or a fissure that they had to remove, and to get that. So that sort of threw me again, because they put me on all these painkillers. I was under
mm,
an anaesthetic from the waist down, and I thought, here we go again. I'm now
yeah.
almost post healing,
Yeah.
and um, but um, I've stuck to the diet rigidly and
Yeah.
tried to make sure they gave me medicines intravenously rather than
Mm,
through the mouth, and
yeah.
it's a lot better. Yeah, it's a lot better
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. And the best part through the whole thing was you didn't really get any major recurrence of your colitis symptoms throughout that whole experience, because you've done
No,
so much work on healing your body, removing the toxicity. Um, and so, you know, I think it's in a way it's lucky that you didn't have like lots and lots of bowel motions at the same time, because that would have been really hard to allow that area to heal if you had, constant toilet visits and things like
yeah,
that. So
yeah,
um,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
I think for people who are watching this, not everybody's journey is perfect. Not everyone has that fairy tale journey of,
Mhm.
you're gonna heal and you're gonna go through your detox, and sometimes we have to do things that like outside of what people would think that we would be okay with, because operations and medications and stuff like that, we're not huge fans of that. But there's certain situations where you can't try to be a hero, and Natasha did everything that she could to try and heal as much of it as she could naturally, and then she took the help from the medical team, and now she's really feeling way better, and her
Mm.
colitis hasn't come back, and she's got good bowel motions, and she can eat many different types of foods now, because she put in that hard work. And so I guess let's talk about, now that you've that kind of curveball that was thrown at you. It wasn't just a small one. Kind of set you
Oh,
back a couple of months at least. But it is what it is. You can't always know what's going
yeah,
to happen.
about it. Mm.
So it's just about, okay, this is what's happened. What can I do now? That's our approach every time. This is what's happened. What do we do now to try and improve the situation from here? Um, and so let's discuss a little bit about what your life is now, the different types of foods that you're able to eat and enjoy, and yeah, how you're feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. I just can't believe it, really. Because one thing that you can struggle with is, say, fear of food, of
Yep.
trying something and it's going to upset you.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I suppose in that's a good thing, because then you're not going to go mad and eat all the wrong food at once. You're going to
Yeah.
do it gradually.
Yeah.
So that was helpful. So I would always have my main potatoes. Potatoes are an absolute must every single day. I have to have
Mm-hmm.
some potato with my dinner, whenever I'm eating, whether it's, I had a Thai curry the other day, a mild one, but I had on the side a portion of potato. Um,
Mm.
I, I do that, but yeah, so I always would start with something small, yeah, a little piece of rice, or a
Mm.
few times, a little bit of beans, or a little bit of something else,
Mm.
and then try the herbs. I'd put a tiny bit of pepper, and then I'd add a bit more,
Mm.
and things like that. Um, and so, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's such a thrill to add something new to your diet, and to
Mm-hmm.
see that you're fine with it and it works and you have
Mm.
no trouble. So
Yeah.
now I'm pretty much eating everything. I would say I'm just still avoiding the nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously, I'm not eating breads,
Mm-hmm.
and those sort of things. But in general, pretty much everything else in moderation. I'll always have 2 or 3 times a week. I'll just have my basic potatoes and vegetables.
Mm.
Um, but it's incredible. It's just amazing how much better you feel on
Mm.
this diet. And my big banana smoothie in the morning with fruits.
Yeah.
I can't live without it. In fact, I'm hungry now because it's morning, and I'm just finishing my apple and celery juice. So it's amazing how you change, because it's making you feel better.
Mm.
You're feeling so much healthier. I wake up feeling much better. I'd had started doing a little bit of exercise, but I've had to stop that while I had the operation.
Yeah.
But yeah, just introducing all those foods and the flavors, and you appreciate them, and you learn
Mm-hmm.
how to cook a different way. And I'm experimenting with lots of new recipes.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't go back
you were mentioning to
how I was
me
before.
last time we talked that even your husband's seen some benefits since you guys have been eating, more plant-based foods and things like that. Yeah.
He's pretty much all plant-based. He's just
Yeah.
still having milk in his cup of tea, because
Yeah.
we're English. We cup of tea. But really, apart from that, he's completely plant-based now.
Hmm.
And his cholesterol, he's always had a trouble for many years with his cholesterol. Though he's
Hmm.
slim,
Hmm.
he's got a problem with it. And he's
Hmm.
also tried to control it with herbal medicine over the years.
Hmm.
But last year as well, it's been difficult. But he went on the plant-based a few months ago now, maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and he went back and had a blood test, and it's come right down. It's come
Hmm.
down lowest that it's been in years
Yeah.
from being on a plant-based diet. So he's really happy, because he was getting a bit worried,
Yeah.
exercising and trying to watch what he was eating, and it
Hmm.
wasn't coming down, and they were offering him statins,
Yeah.
and he was like, I don't want to start on those medicines.
Yeah.
So yeah, his health feels much better, and he's feeling better,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so awesome. So awesome. Um, yeah,
But
so yeah, it's just yeah, I mean every time I do one of these it just blows me away, just what people have had to go through with this disease of the body, and the fact that you don't get any answers when you get diagnosed, and like when you think about the solution and it's just there, like it doesn't, we overcomplicate so many things, all the different medications, all the different thoughts about this and that and microbiome this, and like what you have to realize is you need to allow the body to heal itself, and to do that you have to give it the right conditions, and it's just, some people think that's too simplistic, but it works pretty much every time, and as you can see,
Yeah.
so even you've had it since 93, you can heal, so people had this for a long time, doesn't mean you can't heal, if you've got enough
Right.
energy in your body, you can heal.
Yeah.
So
I think even when we went to the gastroenterologist in March in England,
mm,
we asked him again, does diet have anything to do with this? Because we thought,
mm,
here we go, 20 odd years gone by, let's see what they say now.
yeah,
And he says, no, diet has absolutely nothing to do with it. And I said, okay. And at that point, I decided I was going to see you
mm,
anyway. I
mm,
was into it.
mm.
So yeah, it has changed. In fact, the medicines have got stronger, and
Stronger. Mm.
they don't actually offer so much anti-inflammatories anymore. They sort of go straight in
Straight in.
with the immune,
Yep.
which I noticed a difference. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean they're giving kids younger than 10 these drugs, that we get contact with the parents, and their kids are being put on Remicade and Humira and all these very, very strong, and Entyvio, all these very strong medications. And I just think, are we even thinking about what this could do to these kids, in the future? Like, they're so young, and who knows what, we know one of the side effects is non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, like a blood cancer. So, like, you try and relieve your symptoms, but you end up with cancer instead, you know?
yeah.
And so now
I
you
think
got,
that was right.
yeah, you got colitis, and now you got blood cancer on top of that, I mean, it's frightening. And I think, you really, if you don't want to go down that path, you don't want to take all those risks, then you need to think about changing your diet and lifestyle, and it's worth the change, not to suffer. Um,
Yeah,
so let's talk about some advice. I mean, I think there's not many people we've worked with that have had colitis as long as you have. I think there's only a handful that have had it for more than 15 years. So, um, you've had a lot of experience. What advice would you give someone watching this who is going through, the same kind of things that you went through?
yeah. I would say you can heal this.
Mm,
You might always have a weakness for this illness,
mm,
but you can keep it under control, you could say, and heal it through what
mm,
you eat.
mm,
And you've got to do it because there is no other answer.
mm,
Believe me, I've tried it.
mm,
I've tried everything.
mm,
And I really feel that it's the way the diet and of course the whole lifestyle really does work. And don't think it won't work for you, because it will.
mm,
Because I felt it would work, but I thought, yeah, it's got to work. But you do have moments when you go up and down in the process where you
mm,
think, oh, is it really going to work for me,
mm,
or am I going to be one of those one in so many
mm,
hundreds or thousands that it won't work for, like you
mm,
get in the medical profession. This
mm.
medicine works for this person, for everybody but you.
Yeah.
And but I thought, you've just got to keep going with this and ride it out. And really, 6 months to a year out of your life of changing your diet and going through a detox is
Mm,
nothing in comparison to having years and years and years of battling with
mm,
an illness. Not worth to me, it's just not worth taking the risk,
mm,
because this is an illness that won't go away on its own
mm,
unless you do something about it. It will stay and it will haunt you. It will keep coming back over the years. You'll think you're okay and then you're not. Then you're okay and then you're not. And
mm,
it plays with you.
mm,
It plays even with your mind, because you start making plans to do things in your life and then
mm,
you can't do them again. And there's no point taking that risk when the simple solution is change your diet.
mm.
6 months of a detox and change your diet. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult.
Mm.
You've just got to be prepared mentally and be determined to do it. But go for it. I don't see any other option really.
Yeah, and the evidence
It's
supports it.
definitely
It's not just no, we're not just saying
definitely
it.
work.
We've got the studies and everything to back up that the plant-based diet. The fiber, feeds the bacteria. All of the idea,
Yeah.
the whole idea of the animal protein rots and putrefies in your bowel. There's endotoxins released. The toxicity is there and needs to come out, and that's the way you're going to heal. So
And who would have thought fiber would heal? Well, I've been told for 20 odd years, don't eat fiber, don't eat fiber, eat
yeah,
meat,
yeah,
white bread, white grains, eat all the white things you can, because you've got
mm,
to basically stuff yourself up so you can't go to the toilet. Basically, that
mm,
was what it's been. And now I've gone completely opposite. And so many people say to me, but don't you get bloated? Don't you have problems because you're eating all those beans and all that fiber? And I'm like,
mm,
no, it's the opposite. I used to get bloated. I used to have a bad stomach, and now I
yeah,
don't.
yep.
So yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
incredible, and full credit to you. Sham and I are so proud of you, and the dedication that you put in. You're a real inspiration, really are.
You've been
So
very good. Very patient. Yeah.
congratulations. And this is my favorite part. You now have a life after colitis, and
I have.
yeah, you do. And we're just really happy for you, and all the hard work that you put in has paid off for you. So, well done.
Thank you so much for all your help.
Yeah,
Without this course, there'd be a lot more sick people out there. So we're so appreciative that you do this,
yeah,
and you've worked out a method and a way to help people. And the whole program is just amazing because you get regular support,
yeah,
and I think that is vital. That you offer every week support to people is unheard of in the medical profession, isn't it? So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
good for you.
Oh, we're
It's
not in the medical
fantastic.
profession. Maybe that's why we're able to do that. um,
Maybe,
but
yeah.
so there you are, guys. Just another person who's healed following a plant-based diet, changing their lifestyle, putting in the hard work and the dedication. Well done, Natasha. For everyone who's watching this video, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comment section's there. Ask a question, and we'll try our best to answer it as best as we can. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, click the subscribe button and the little bell notification icon so you're notified of all future videos. And until next time, guys, make sure you eat plants and lots of them. See you guys. Bye.
Bye.